If you know you struggle in saying no and you want to know how it affects your attachment style, stick for this video. Hi, my name is Alex Golovko. I used to struggle with people pleasing and I am also a yoga philosophy and movement teacher. In this video, I will explain to you how people pleasing translates into your attachment style. If you're here in this video, chances are that you've been attaching your worth to how you show up for others. And this has led you to spread yourself thin. Because of that, your actions are not really coming from the inside, but they're coming from the outside. As you scan the room to check outside of yourself how people behave and adapt yourself to that behavior. Usually these kind of patterns are built during our childhood when we are used to show up and adjust in school, with our parents, and in other environments. And due to that, you have kind of like this built-in doubt in yourself because it's more important for you to be like everyone else than being like you. The problem is, if you do not resolve this, your relationships are essentially going to be doomed from the start. They're going to be repeating the same cycle and they're going to break you down. You're essentially going to repeat the same loop with every partner that you end up with. And this is rooted because of the partner you choose, either consciously or subconsciously, that fits with your own pattern. All right. So let's look into the attachment style theory and let's see how your people-pleasing pattern actually fits into that. So essentially there are 4 different types of attachment styles. One of them is a secure and balanced attachment style, while the other 3 are all types of insecure attachment styles. I'm going to go over them super quickly because there's quite a lot of material and content out there, particularly on YouTube, around attachment styles. So if you want to look into that deeper, feel free to just search that and look into attachment styles. You'll find a ton of videos around that. But in today's video, I'll just give you a quick reminder of what they are and really from my own understanding and from how I really see these patterns from my own experience. So let's first go over the 3 insecure types of attachment styles. So for me, all of these insecure attachment styles are deeply rooted in a fear of expressing needs and feelings to others. And this is rooted in the fear of abandonment. But this has led to different coping mechanisms in each of these 3 different insecure attachment styles. So let's go over each of them. So let's first go over the anxious attachment style. So the anxious attachment style person is someone that has learned in childhood that to be good, they need to have some external validation from their outer circle, whether parents or school or any other environment they were in. So since their value and their worth is considered external to their own, it's not something that's constantly there, but something that needs to be earned. They're constantly looking for reassurance and validation from others. So their self-love is essentially correlated to how much another person validates them or approves them or expresses their love for them. This is essentially another form of fear of abandonment by seeking constantly external validation that you're not going to be abandoned. But as a side to that, they also tend to not express their needs or feelings directly because of the fear that they will be met with rejection. So instead, they kind of want other people to guess their needs or understand what they want. The issue is, if these people don't understand their needs, the anxious attached kind of gets sour. So let's look into the avoidant attached. So contrary to the anxious attached, the avoidant attached person learned in their childhood that no one is really going to take care of their feelings or needs. So they developed another coping mechanism to that. It's hyper-independence. And to avoid to take care of their needs and feelings, what they developed is the ability to completely suppress them, to make them disappear. The thing is, they don't really disappear. Feelings always stay there. They just go very deep inside. So since their feelings are shoved away by themselves, they tend to do the same thing with others. because they're not allowed to express their own feelings, so why would others be allowed to express them? So they quickly get very overwhelmed when somebody else expresses excessive interest or excessive feelings towards them. So how they deal with their fear of abandonment is by abandoning themselves first so that nobody else can abandon them. Let's look into the final insecure attachment style, which is called fearful avoidant or disorganized avoidant. So this final style is kind of like a combination of the two prior styles. It is formed in childhood by both experiences of need for external validation, but also from withdrawal of affection. So sudden withdrawal of love from a parent or any other context. So as a result, the person craves affection and attention for external validation, but at the same time, it also fears excessive closeness or intimacy from the other person because they feel like they get overwhelmed. So this is essentially because of fear of abandonment as well, because they fear that if the person gets too close, they might eventually abandon them because they would see themselves as not being worthy or any other reason that they see. Same with the two other insecure attachment style, the fear of abandonment is really key here because it is driven by a childhood experiences where there was a certain abandonment felt that creates this experience and this repeated fear. So as you might guess, this is exactly the opposite in the secure attachment style. So the one style that is actually the most balanced and healthy. So the main characteristic of securely attached people is that they don't feel fear to express their needs or to express their feeling. And this is because they do not have a fear of abandonment. So essentially they are aware that the reaction to the other people to their needs is their problem, not theirs. And this is why they're not afraid to express themselves. They're not seeking explanations as to why the other person behaves the way they do. They don't need to justify their behavior. For them, this behavior is more important than any justification. So as a result, they don't have any trouble to cut people out of their life if they do not meet their needs or are not respectful to them. So how do these people connect actually? So actually secure people attract other secure people. So they end up together because they're quite frank and they feel at ease with each other because there is this transparency and direct connection to the self and understanding what the feelings are, the needs are, and not being afraid of expressing them. Then anxious attached tend to end up with avoidant attached. They're kind of the perfect combo in the two opposites of the insecure attached styles. And they tend to develop these codependent type relationships. Fearful avoidance can end up with any of the insecure attached styles and very often with also fearful avoidance so that they kind of equal themselves in their characteristics that they both share. But funny enough, it is estimated that the majority of people out there are secure people, and that the insecure three types of attachments are actually a minority. So while I was describing these attachment styles, some bells probably rang in your mind if you're a people pleaser. And that probably was particularly when I was describing the anxious attached style or the fearful avoidant attached style. Maybe even to some extent the avoidant attached style. Well, this is normal. So let's look at why. Now I'll explain to you how people-pleasing connects with attachment styles. So people-pleasing is essentially a pattern that expresses itself with all of your relationship with the outer world. It can be family, it can be friends, it can be colleagues, and of course, particularly with your relationships, your romantic relationships. And even it can express itself with unknown people that you just met in the street. Same as with these insecure attachment patterns that I presented to you previously, people-pleasing is very rooted in the fear of abandonment. In the case of people-pleasing, the fear of abandonment actually makes you prefer abandoning yourself rather than being abandoned by others in some sort of heroic act. It is because in your childhood you integrated a belief that self-sacrifice is a virtue. It's a super deeply ingrained but quite outdated belief. So as a result, you go at full-on service for others. And you're afraid to express your needs, but you still have them, so you kind of want people to guess them for you. So you do not really give to others without expecting anything in return, which is the actual definition of virtue. But you are putting a price tag to every service you give to others, expecting them to notice it. Basically, you expect validation from others so that they give you back some of that energy that you gave away to them. So let's look at how this connects with anxious attached style. Well, what I just described is the very definition of the anxious attachment style. I myself used to operate with quite a few anxious attached pattern characteristics in my previous relationships. So as a result, people pleasers most cases tend to become anxiously attached partners. They put their value in the hands of their partner and expect their validation to feel worthy. But they do not express their needs or feelings by fear of rejection, but they expect others to guess them for them. And when they don't, they kind of express that in passive-aggressive behaviors. So it actually becomes quite a toxic connection. But people pleasers can also become fearful avoidants. People pleasers could become fearful avoidants because particularly of their fear of rejection. In their case, they do not only not express their needs because they feel rejection, but also because they're simply not really aware of them. Their avoidant side got used to shove the feelings away, to not feel the pain of having them. So as a result, the person becomes kind of numb to their own needs, to their own feelings. They don't feel them as most people do. And this again does not mean that they're not there. They do have feelings, they do have needs. It's just that they're deeply, deeply shoved away. They're hidden under all of these layers and patterns of behavior that the person created to avoid feeling them. In this case, fearful avoidant can people please, but without even knowing that they're doing it, because they're not aware what are their needs and what are their feelings. So they're abandoning themselves without even being aware of it, because they're not knowing what are they abandoning exactly. And finally, let's look at the connection between the avoidant attachment style and people pleasers. It is more rare for a full avoidant to be a people pleaser because avoidants really built their whole identity on their ability to be super independent and not needing anybody else in their lives. They're super independent and so they prefer avoiding closeness. They flee it every time it arises. In their case, their self-abandonment is actually translating in their negation of any need to be close to anybody, which, as we're humans, is not true. So now, how to transition to a secure attachment style from all of these three insecure patterns? Basically, it is possible. Any change is possible, but since this is based in deeply rooted childhood learned experiences, this is important and tremendous inner work. This requires going deep into meeting yourself again and reversing these self-abandonment patterns that you developed. The entire concept of a relationship and what it is needs to be rebuilt from scratch, because you need to start understanding what a healthy relationship actually looks like and how is it different to what you've been experiencing previously. I've actually gone through this process myself and can tell you it is possible. However, it requires deep work, and it's something I'm still constantly paying attention to and being aware about. So I hope for this video you understand how people-pleasing actually affects your attachment style and creates patterns in your relationships. If you want to reverse this pattern and understand what a healthy relationship actually looks like, I have a free masterclass called The Confidence Blueprint, which is linked in the description of this video. In this masterclass, I explain the concept of seniority in relationships, which is going to really reverse how you think about relationships, and also how you need to set boundaries, even if this is something you've never done before. So if that's interesting for you, just click the link in the description to register for free. Thank you for following this video and see you in the next.